Well, after Monday's attack, the World Central Kitchen suspended its operations in Gaza, and displaced Palestinians say that they fear attacks like these will lead to further suffering. Let's take a look at other aid agencies who face similar challenges. There's the American Near East Refugee Aid Agency, and it's decided to stop its operations in Gaza altogether. The aid group had provided an average of 150,000 meals a day in partnership with the World Central Kitchen. In February, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, suspended its aid operations to northern Gaza. And this came after what it called a collapse of civil order and prevention of safe passage for its trucks. And other organizations like the International Medical Corps, which has one of the largest field hospitals in Rafah, is also thinking its humanitarian work in Gaza. We'll now speak to Sandra Rasheed, who's a Palestine country director for the NGO, the American Near East Refugee Aid. She joins us from Ramallah, that's in the occupied West Bank. Sandra Rasheed, thanks for your time with us. So at a time when we hear over and over that humanitarian aid has to be scaled up in Gaza because the needs are so immense, aid organizations like yours have decided to stop the humanitarian work. What impact do you think this is going to have on Palestinians in Gaza?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think the long-term impacts are going to be dire. We already know that the situation on the ground is extremely difficult. Even when Anera was providing close to 150,000 meals a day, WCK was providing as much and more. And now we are suspending. We have not completely stopped. We're taking a pause right now to see and to evaluate the safety of our staff. Our staff have guided our work, and they themselves feel like there's a target on their backs and have requested that we take a pause so that we can ensure their safety.
So when you say you take a pause, can you give us some sort of idea how long that suspension is going to last?
You know, this all depends on the Israeli side. The indiscriminate killing that's been taking place in the last 6 months. Your colleague let you know that there was 173 UNRWA humanitarian aid workers killed in the last 6 months, but that number is over 200 for all humanitarian aid workers. We also see a high rise of killings for medical professionals, journalists, civilians, children. We are waiting to have some assurance from Israel and from the international community that doing this life-saving work will not constitute putting a target on our staff's back.
So as of today, have you asked the Israelis and the international community for those assurances? And if you have you gotten a response, and what has it been?
We've been in discussion with both the Israelis and the international community where we're talking on various levels. And I think that what was said earlier is that the world is in shock. I think the more that we have time to process this, the more surprising and shocking that it is. These are 3 convoys that were hit by 3 different bombs, as you mentioned, through the roof of their car, which indicates a targeted killing. We are all reeling. I think this is going to take some time from the international community. I would hope it wouldn't take too much time, but time from the international community in Israel to ensure that they would secure the safety of our staff.
You touched upon this in the beginning, the impact that it would have on people in Gaza. I wonder if you can just expand on this a little bit and tell us what impact suspensions like these have on aid distribution efforts in the Gaza Strip, and particularly in the north of the country, where we understand for a while now, very, very little aid has been able to reach the north.
Yes, this is true. We as Anera were providing 20,000 hot meals in the north every day. We were working with WFP and other convoys to provide trucks and commodities to the north. This is all stopped. The situation, as I mentioned, is extremely dire. We see that there is starvation. There are over 45 cases recorded of death by starvation so far, and this is what we see due to strictly starvation. We don't know how many deaths are related to malnutrition. The situation in terms of not having food supplied through our kitchens or through food parcels is extremely critical. This was a very hard decision for us to take. We know that the situation on Gaza, it keeps getting worse. The situation gets worse by the day. But as I mentioned, we were forced to do this. This is something that we were forced to do to ensure our safety.
You're a Palestine country director and as an aid worker, what do you think Israel is trying to achieve by targeting aid workers in the Gaza Strip?
I think that what we see is a pattern of targeting humanitarian, medical, journalist staff. I'm not in the heads of Israel intelligence or strategists to understand what the purpose is, but we do see a clear pattern of this happening.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Sandra Rasheed, we thank you so much for speaking to us from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank.
Thank you.